Hi, happy Monday. Hope everyone's alright. I'm just going to ramble some shit. I've got loads of thoughts and I don't think I've said them out loud, so it won't make sense. It'll be incoherent babble and bullshit. So bear with, or don't, you know. Yeah, so I've been thinking a little bit more about UFOs and aliens again, and I just wanted to expand a little bit on my own feels on things, because somehow the way that I perceive things, to me, feels just as magical to somebody who may perceive the universe and the solar system in particular in the way that we've been told it is, you know, through mainstream science and, you know, NASA. And so because I have a different view of the universe and cosmology, I find wonder in the stars and the planets and the universe. I guess in the same way that anybody who believes in, you know, a heliocentric normal globe model of the universe and the earth and shit would, you know, the way that they sort of say, but to imagine we're the only ones, you know, out there that's so sort of ignorant and sort of superior of an attitude. And it's like, I do completely agree. It's just, I understand through my own experience, the alien is, for me, something slightly different to what is being portrayed, or what I hear about from the majority of people anyway. And that it's all done through consciousness and through the human vessel, connecting to God, to source, to light, to alien, whatever we want to call it. And it's been really interesting this morning because I've been listening to quite a bit of Bill Donahue lately, and I fucking love him. And he posted this morning a video that I'll leave underneath, and I think it looks like an old video, like all of his are, and he's talking about the power of green, basically, the green light and everything. And it was quite synchronistic for me for a few other reasons, but yeah, the power of green. And yeah, and oh shit, man, I've got too many thoughts. You know, when I had this mystical experience that I call it, it was like some just incredible contact, you know. In March 2018, I had a green light appear in my bedroom just before this plasma crystal dodecahedron thing appeared. And that night I was downloaded these messages, and I was listening to Bill Donahue's video this morning. I'm going to have to flick later onto my notes because I moved back to UFOs, but I've already gone off on a tangent. Where was it? Yeah. And just, he was talking about DNA and about DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and ayahuasca, and how plants, you know, affect your consciousness and your DNA. And, you know, all about light entering into you via your pineal gland in meditation, and how that hits what he described as the hammer, or the green inside of you. And through that connection with light, we can get messages, encrypted messages that our DNA is capable of encoding. And I was just like, you know, when you're just feeling such sort of like depth of things, and it's hard to grasp and articulate outwardly why things feel so resonant and profound and exciting for you when you find little bits of information or whatever. But it's because, like, that night I had these messages downloaded into me, you know, and this was before I was looking on YouTube, before I was posting on YouTube or anything. So I knew that these were organic, and there were three things, and this is like kind of still what my mission is kind of somehow always about, and what always brings me back to everything, but it was that my DNA had been upgraded. And as egoic and crackers as that sounds, you know, it was a clear message through me. And I was like, what the actual fuck? Because it was a terrible night just before this experience happened, you know. It was like what would classically be described as like a dark night of the soul, where I was in like astral battles, I was sweating as well. I think I had a bit of like flu as well, so my rational mind was thinking about hallucinations and things anyway. But it was just some crazy dark night. I was thrashing around, and then, you know, when I felt like I'd got through the worst of these experiences, these consciousness sort of experiences that were very dark and tricky, and I had to focus my consciousness in certain ways to sort of get through this night. And it culminated in this fucking green light, and then this crystal appearing, like hovering in midair for like a few seconds and then just disappearing again. And yeah, so these messages were, your DNA's been upgraded and you're here for a reason, and it's all about the blood. And I didn't know anything about anything. And so still I hang on to this, I cling on to this as like such a, it's the most mystical thing that's ever happened to me, and it's so difficult to put into words, isn't it? But anyway, when I was listening to Bill Donahue talk about this, I'm like, fucking hell, again, it's like the green light. And the encrypted messages that your DNA is capable of decoding. And he talks about how shamans talk about this encryption of the messages for instruction or for healing. And it was obviously what happened to me, you know. It instructed me of so many things. I had so many downloads. I was writing things about electromagnetism that I had no idea about, that completely fit into things that I'd later found out about. And, you know, just very, very strange, bizarre things where all of a sudden, within my realm of grasping, of consciousness, of remembering, regaining, you know, it really felt like some ancestral download. And, oh man, it was just so amazing. But again, so that started off my spiritual journey. And then I ended up looking at these, you know, like new age or spiritual type of channels or communities, where I just felt less resonance when extraterrestrials or alien contact or whatever was personified and objectified as an external thing, rather than some kind of symbiotic mesh of things, you know. And we can describe it metaphysically in spiritual language, or potentially we can even describe it in scientific language, like these days with proper physics, you know. And that's like where Dan Winter's work comes into it for me, and helps me to not only explain that mystical night I had where this green light appeared and this dodecahedron plasma crystal thing, but it explained what I was doing with my consciousness, what happened, you know, physically, like kind of like scientifically. And I'm going to butcher it now, so I'm just going to put his latest video down beneath. He's got extensive shit. But again, this brings me on to, and that's again where I go, oh, I'm not sure about all this ET history, extraterrestrial history, and all these different types of things as being physical things. You know, Dan Winter thinks that the moon is a metal, hollow structure, and that I think he thinks there's like all sorts of shit going on, and has been for ages, and that the moon sort of controls the frequency on the earth. And, you know, there's all these different theories, and I'm open to them. It's just, the more that I stare at the sky at night, and I see things all the time that I can't, holy fucking shit. Look at It's off, isn't it? Sounded like an old school telephone, didn't it? 1010 I saw then. Oh, calm down. What am I on about? Oh, shit. Yeah, so it's when things get a little bit too sci-fi that I tend to have dissonance with. And again, I'm open to being wrong. Where the fuck is that noise coming from? It's kind of put me off a bit, that. Right, yeah. So, bastard, man, what am I talking about? Right, yeah. So Dan Winter, and I'll put a video down below. He's just amazing. He's an electrical engineer who's been doing this type of work for years. And actually, this will tie into the UFO thing again. So anyway, he talks about the physics of bliss and ascension, and how basically it's cold plasma. And he talks about what cold plasma is, and why it's so healing, and why it's our aura, it's our Holy Ghost, and it's all this juicy stuff that I might talk about, hopefully, and bring back round in a minute. Circle back, like that ginger woman says in America. Oh shit, right. So yeah, so Dan Winter talks about how what the physics is of what's going on during these things, like when shaman can steer a tornado, or when you're phoning the ancestors, he says, you know, or you're receiving a message, you know, through light, through God, through consciousness. However, it is sort of extraterrestrial information, but it could be you know, as simple as light, and as Dan Winter says, pure intention. And he thinks this is the key to this health, you know, this bliss health, honing your aura your whole life, you know, stepping into it, so eventually you can take that consciousness in the cold plasma around you, and, you know, into and past death, and that's how you lucid dream and shit like this. He says, you know, immortality is the ability to continue to inhabit this plasma with our consciousness past the point of death. So it's just so exciting. He talks about how, I'm going to get back round to that anyway, because I was having a chuckle this morning. I'm like, that's all we ever need to do. That's what we're here for, you know. It's the purpose of the human, 1313. I saw then, is to experience this bliss and to hone this cold plasma aura, so you can do things like lucid dream, or telepathically communicate with ancestors, or receive encrypted messages about healing. Anyway, Dan Winters talks about the physics of this, and how essentially what's happening, I think, I might be buttering it slightly, but that transverse waves, which are the up and down waves, they go through certain nodes, which is like the caduceus point, the golden ratio, and it's like the two pine cones kissing. So it's like, he talks about how it's like squeezing through the end of a tube of toothpaste, this 0 point in the middle. And so these transverse waves hit these nodes on the golden ratio. I think he talks about golden ratio times plunk, but I don't really know what that is. But he nearly said spunk, and it made me laugh. Anyway, so it goes down there, and at this point of implosion, it implodes, and it changes the transverse waves into longitudinal waves. And it's these longitudinal waves that we can you know, steer. It's sort of the force that the Jedi talks about. May the force be with you, you know, it's that. So Dan Winter has a theory, which is probably right, about gravity, and he explains why Einstein got it wrong about action at a distance, and how, you know, nobody really understands this. And this is where I really get excited and resonate with his work as well, because what I'm feeling at the moment about this sort of like UFO alien disclosure through the mainstream is that I'm kind of getting like weirdly annoyed when people say it must be alien because these craft appear to defy the laws of physics. And I'm just always like, without Dan Winter's work, or without me perceiving a different type of cosmology or a flat earth scenario, you know, I don't see how people can't perceive that today's laws of physics are still just a theory. Maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe it's been hidden for so long. Maybe what we think is gravity is not gravity. And therefore, if that knowledge was around, which I'm sure it is, and that's probably why ancient people could do these incredible things like make pyramids and these incredible temples and, you know, all the old technology and shit that you see. Because they had knowledge of how to manipulate the ethers and use electromagnetism and alchemy, you know, to do these things. And we don't now. We have lost so much knowledge, and we go, it must be aliens, physical aliens in physical triangular metal crafts, because it defies the laws of physics. And I'm like, if you think about things like as a child, it's like, why can't we comprehend that humans are capable of creating triangular crafts that hover and zip around? Like, you know, people know about these supposedly, you know, these Nazi aircraft and these old sort of silver disc UFO bombers and shit and all that crap about, well, I'm not saying crap, it looks half legit to me. I'm just like a serial skeptic of everything. But, you know, the secret bases and stuff on Antarctica and Tesla's work and, you know, all this interesting, juicy stuff. It's been going on behind closed doors for what, like 80 years or something. So, of course I can comprehend that humans have made and hidden, or can make and hide, or have been, crafts that would be like, that us in our planes and aeroplanes would be like, whoa, what the fuck is that, man? So, and again, it's like I don't want to take any of the mystery out of anything, any of the mystique. It's like, I love that, you know. And sometimes people confuse my ideology or my feels about things. It's like my mum said yesterday, she was like, I was trying to explain to her how, like, I view alien as, like, interdimensional consciousness. And it was interesting that Bill Donahue, on this video that I'll put down below, he was talking about how hallucinations don't just have to be one or the other, like internal, is it coming from me in the brain, or is it coming from the outside, an alien? It's like, it's both simultaneously. It's the frequency that is out there is being picked up by the frequency of us, the receiver, and we're able to perceive that alien. However that appears in whatever form, whether that's just light or a, you know, a green light and crystal ball thing, you know, or, you know, an experience of an abduction or a trip up a tunnel or whatever, you know. I've experienced lots of strange things, and I still don't jump to physical aliens. So I don't know, I was just sort of pondering that. And I think it's easier for me because I've disregarded everything I've ever been told about anything, and I just literally work from the ground up like a child. And also I'm not scared about being wrong, so that can help. But it's like, yeah, I kept hearing this sort of narrative. My mum, and a couple of videos that I've watched as well, that was sort of saying, well, that, you know, it's almost egotistical, yeah, to presume we're the only ones here in the universe. And part of me is like, well, why? we could be the only ones in these human skin vessels, you know. I'm not saying there's not, I mean, I'm open to anything sometimes, because I've been looking a bit more into this Antarctica stuff, you know, and I'm like, I can imagine that there's so much land undiscovered that we're not told about, and we really live in such a small little scope of our own bullshit. We're in tiny little bubbles of reality within bigger bubbles of reality within our household, within our village, within our town, within our and like the whole awakening is knocking those fucking bubbles and veils down, you know. I think it's like, in order to comprehend the universe and God however you want, and yet we're all out here, you know, looking for some external aliens to save us or whatever, and it's like, I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, it's sort of strange. I was pondering that, you know, that attitude that it's like, because, you know, I don't know what stars and planets are, and yet I resonate with them. I perceive that I don't know anything, but the flat earth model makes more sense to me than the heliocentric model, and so I'm usually working on some kind of frame of that in my own mind. But I'm into astrology, and I feel the energies of the planets and the frequencies, and I resonate with how they affect us. It doesn't mean that I think that they're little planets with rocks on, or colonies, or, you know, again, when I've seen close-ups of stars and planets, you know, they look like dancing lights, you know, through water somehow, which only enforces my own sort of view that the universe and the ether is, you know, water, plasma, and, you know. So, I don't know. And again, the more I gaze up at night at the stars, and I feel I come to my own understanding that so many of the myths and fables and stories and religions and everything are just, they're the stories played out in the sky through the stars and the planets. So it makes it mystical for me. It's not, it doesn't take it away from me that I perceive the universe in a different manner. It could still be infinite for me, because I can never get up to the stars, can I? Unless I mean, I'll probably go back up when I die. But yeah, so, and again, the same sort of thing with this understanding of physical ascension in terms of scientific physics or whatever. It's like, it doesn't take away the mystique for me. It just adds on to the intrigue of everything for me, and how we compartmentalize things as a human through our own veils and reality bubbles. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just feeling quite excited about shit. It's too long, this. I'm gonna stop and talk about something else in another one, because I wanted to talk about, oh shit, battery. Oh, I wanted to talk about this problem of the puer aeternus, which is the eternal child, and some things that I recently felt about that, about, you know, like men and women who never grow up, and what that psychology is, and I was pondering that, yeah. So, but I'm going to leave this now, and yeah, have a lovely day. Happy Monday. I'm so frantic, and I've got so much shit to do, and I've chosen to do this. Whoops. Happy Monday. Bye.